There's a question that has lived inside every serious NBA conversation for 50 years. What actually wins basketball games? The guy who makes you bleed or the guy who makes you break? Because the NBA has produced both in extraordinary abundance. The enforcer, who sends you to the floor with a forearm and doesn't say a single word. And the strategist who leans into you at tip-off, says 5 words, and ruins your entire night before the opening possession is even played. Both archetypes built dynasties. Both changed how the game was played. Both made opponents genuinely afraid to walk into certain arenas. But they are not the same thing. And understanding the difference tells you something important about how competition actually works at the highest level. To understand where these archetypes came from, you have to understand what the NBA looked like in the late 1970s and early 1980s. It was a different league entirely. Games were grinding, physical affairs where hard fouls were strategic tools, not accidents. Fights broke out with regularity and were treated as part of the sport's texture rather than existential threats to its image. Television ratings were struggling. The league was searching for an identity. And in that environment, a certain type of player didn't just survive, he thrived. Maurice Lucas arrived in Portland and established the template. Big, physical, genuinely menacing. He protected territory the way soldiers protect ground, not with words, not with posturing, but with consequences, real ones. The message he sent every night was simple: come into this paint and you will pay for it. But it was in Detroit in the mid-1980s where that philosophy became a fully realized system. Bill Laimbeer arrived in 1982. Rick Mahorn came with him. Dennis Rodman developed inside that culture. Isaiah Thomas ran the operation from the point guard position. And together, they built something that was less a basketball team and more a philosophy made physical. What the Pistons understood, before anyone else did, was that physical intimidation could be coordinated, systematized, applied to a specific opponent with precision and intent. Their documented strategy against Michael Jordan was called the Jordan Rules. The premise was straightforward. Every time Jordan drove the lane, every member of that defense was permitted, encouraged, to knock him to the floor. Not as a penalty, as a policy.
You guys have something called the Jordan Rule. Talk to us about that.
Push him left. That's your Jordan rule right there. That's all I'm allowed to give away.
Mm-hmm. It's still top secret.
We're
gonna be there.
The deal is this: you push him left. If he catches the ball on the left side, push him left. He goes left. As soon as he gets a foot in the paint, foul him.
And it's just a regular foul.
Yeah.
Everybody gets 6.
Everybody gets, but no tic-tac fouls. Meaning, for anybody out there, don't reach and pull your hand back.
Follow
him.
through.
Grab him.
Foul him, hit him, and you used to be allowed to do that. You used to be allowed to, even if a guard was coming to the lane and it was a big man turned and bumped into you and you hit the ground, ref wouldn't call that.
Jordan averaged over 30 points a game during those years. He was already the most talented player the league had seen. And the Pistons eliminated him 3 consecutive times. Not because he couldn't score, he could, but because they made scoring cost something real. Every drive came with consequences. Every bucket earned through punishment. And eventually, the calculus changed. That is the bad boy at his most effective, not just inflicting pain, altering the decision-making of the most gifted player in the world before he even catches the ball. Charles Oakley operated in this same tradition and perhaps most purely embodied its essence. He was Jordan's bodyguard in Chicago before moving to New York. And Oakley's form of communication required no words at all. His presence communicated everything that needed to be said. Somebody on the other team looks at Jordan the wrong way. That becomes Oakley's problem. Immediately.
What do you expect people to get from it? And do you expect them to see a different side of you?
It's definitely always something they don't know about you. I'm talking about basketball in a way that a lot of people say they wish basketball we played today.
Mm-hmm.
Hold guys accountable. Know what you do on the court. Game situation. And I think that in the game today, you watch basketball, it's just everybody like, And that's why you see so much bad talent on the floor, and the reason why the Lakers is struggling because it seems like to me nobody know their identity but LeBron. That's what you tell a guy first thing training camp.
Yep.
You do this, you do this. That's why it's a role, time of possession. Guys play 30 minutes together. Efficiencies, but it's a lot of sloppy basketball now.
By the late 1980s, the bad boy had become one of the most valued assets in professional basketball. Every championship contender needed one. Not a scorer, not a playmaker. Simply a man willing to do the work that made everyone else's job manageable. Karl Malone in Utah delivered elbows with surgical precision that permanently scarred Isaiah Thomas's face in one incident.
Down he goes, Isaiah. We got a whistle. Isaiah's eyes cut badly. Oh, he took a blow to the head. Blood all over his forehead. Isaiah Thomas. Karl Malone being separated.
40 stitches, no apology. Anthony Mason patrolled the paint in New York with the presence of a man who had decided where the boundaries were and would enforce them personally. Xavier McDaniel in Seattle studied martial arts and delivered stare-downs that froze rookies before they'd taken a single dribble. These were the men who made NBA games feel like contested territory rather than athletic exhibitions. And for a specific, defined window of time, this approach won championships. The Pistons took back-to-back titles in 1989 and 1990. The system worked. Coordinated physical dominance had proven it could topple the most gifted individuals in the world.
Don't you find it a little strange, I do anyway, that the league almost is perpetuating this? They're making money on the Bad Boys video, and they've kind of, on one hand, excused, the theme, and on the other hand, they're trying to knock you down for it.
I don't think in anybody's mind that there is a double standard. Our basketball team is fine in one way, and the rest of the league is fine in a different way. Our basketball team is penalized in areas that certain other teams aren't penalized in. It's two totally different standards.
But fear has enemies, talented enough enemies, combined with a rule book that could be rewritten, combined with time. Because while the Bad Boys were perfecting their craft in Detroit, something was happening simultaneously across the league that would prove far more durable. Larry Bird walked into the three-point contest at the 1986 All-Star Game in Dallas. He looked around the room at every other competitor who had arrived to compete, and he announced, without any particular aggression, without removing his warm-up jacket, that he just wanted to know who was finishing second. Then he won, wearing the jacket for the final shots. That moment captured something the bad boy philosophy never quite grasped. Bird didn't need to foul you. He didn't need to send you to the floor. He needed you to believe, before a single shot was taken, that the outcome was already written, that your role in this contest was to compete for second place.
Larry Bird was one of the biggest trash talkers in basketball. And a lot of people said, really? They thought it was Reggie or Charles.
Bird used to tell me, look here, man, you're supposed to be a great defender, right? I'm gonna make sure I tell you where I'm gonna shoot the ball at.
Yeah, he said, I'm gonna get it right here. I'm gonna shoot it right in your face.
And I'm looking at this guy like, he's nuts.
I'm gonna go shoot this motherfucking jumper in your face right there in that corner. And it's gonna be your Christmas present. I'm gonna wrap it up and bust your head open.
And that's exactly what he did.
If he tell you you're gonna hit a shot in a certain place, he gonna do just that and ain't nothing you can do about it.
Being a better player each step I took, I was able to go up more than the other guys. I had a green light, I could make plays, but I always knew early on, especially when I was a junior, senior high school, that probably the outcome of the game was gonna depend on me.
That is a completely different kind of weapon, and it costs nothing. No suspension, no fine, no technical foul, just doubt, installed quietly before the game has even started. Michael Jordan understood this better than anyone who has ever played the sport. He once told Muggsy Bogues during a crucial playoff moment to go ahead and shoot the ball. The implication was precise and devastating. Shoot it, I want you to shoot it. Bogues shot. He missed. And players who witnessed the exchange said the moment affected him for years. If you're finding value in this kind of analysis, the psychology behind how greatness actually operates, the stories that never make the highlight reel, subscribe to Primetime Sports right now. We break this down every week, and there's a lot more where this came from. Back to the mind games. Kevin Garnett took everything Bird and Jordan had established and turned it into something clinical and unrelenting.
KG talked the most by far.
He talks within rhythm.
He's obsessed. Yes.
Yes. He gonna try to get in your head.
Can't handle it. Get off the court.
Most of his conversations to himself.
He's on the free throw line. I smell blood.
I've always been super competitive.
I guess that's what I'm being remembered for, so that's a good thing.
When I joined the Celtics, when we was in Italy, Paul Pierce started a chant that the Romans started before they took battle and went into like a real bloodthirsting battle. That's what it was. I'm being dead ass, okay? And this is the mentality. And I think we got it on film with Paul got the Roman hat on, he got a sword in his hand, he got a shield, and he goes, Celtics! And you hear a couple of us go, hoorah! Hoorah! Hey! Hoorah! 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 Well, that was our hoorah. And when you heard the hoorah, it was like 300.
Right.
You heard, we getting ready to go out here, and we finna destroy it. Well, let me tell you something. 2 inches from my face is a curtain. The curtain is this thin. You can hear us. On the other side of this curtain, the opposing team is right here. So guess what we used to do? Let's come out here and beat the out of these. Straight up. They lost their last 5. They're not finna come in here and get fucking win. Don't give a who they got over there. Them Let's get it going. Celtics, hoorah! Celtics, hoorah!
That had to be a
Celtics, hoorah! 1, 2, 3, and then ran out with that. You hear me? And then when we hit the court, with that.
He didn't just trash talk, he researched. He found the specific pressure point, the insecurity, the private wound, the thing you worked hardest to protect, and he attacked it directly.
Man, we smoked New York. We smoked the Knicks, smoked the Wizards, smoked everybody. And that was the mentality we ran out there. And we was like this. If you had the camera behind us, we just was like, ace, boy. Niggas is really like this, what?
His comment to Carmelo Anthony about Anthony's wife became one of the most discussed moments in modern NBA sideline history. His remark to Charlie Villanueva about alopecia crossed every boundary of human decency most people recognize. His targeting of Tim Duncan's recently deceased mother was so far beyond acceptable that it achieved its own category entirely. But it worked, every time. Because opponents didn't just arrive at those games feeling disrespected, they arrived destabilized. And a destabilized opponent does not play their best basketball. By the early 2000s, both archetypes were operating at their absolute peak simultaneously. Garnett was a former MVP, Ron Artest was in Indiana. Detroit had rebuilt itself around physical dominance. The league was carrying the weight of both philosophies at once. And then, November 19th, 2004 arrived. Ron Artest went into the stands in Auburn Hills. What became known as the Malice at the Palace was not simply a brawl, it was the moment that exposed where the bad boy philosophy terminates. The moment that violence moved from the court into the crowd, the league faced a choice it could not avoid. What followed was structural, stricter suspension policies, automatic ejection protocols for flagrant fouls, harsher financial penalties, and a sustained cultural effort to rebrand the NBA around athleticism and skill rather than physical warfare and fear. The bad boy era didn't end that night, but the architecture that supported it began to be dismantled, piece by piece, rule by rule, season by season. Latrell Sprewell had provided an earlier warning sign in 1997 when he choked head coach P.J. Carlesimo during a Golden State practice, left the facility, returned 20 minutes later, and attempted to do it again. His eventual return to the league with the Knicks, and an appearance in the NBA Finals, was one of the most complicated rehabilitation stories the sport had produced. But the ceiling was visible. His talent never fully outran that moment. Matt Barnes drove 95 miles in the middle of the night to confront Derek Fisher at his ex-wife's home. That story summarizes the bad boy's fundamental problem in the modern era. The competitive fire was genuine and undeniable. The expression of it was self-defeating. Compare that to what was happening simultaneously on the other side of the psychological spectrum. Draymond Green has been fined, suspended, and ejected more times than most players receive All-Star nominations over a comparable career period. He also has 4 championship rings.
In the first half of the first game after you're suspended, you get a technical foul.
Beautiful, huh? He's been a spectacular player for us. We would not have these championships without his involvement. No question. I think everyone understands that in this room. I'm still here. and don't change. And ain't no tech moving me off my square.
He called LeBron James a word during the 2016 finals that earned him a suspension for a pivotal game.
You know, Draymond just, he said something that I don't agree with. You know, I'm all cool with the competition. I'm all fine with that, but some of the words that came out of his mouth was a little bit overboard. You know, and being a guy with pride, a guy with 3 kids and a family and things of that nature, just some things that go overboard, and that's where he took it, so. And that was it.
What happened?
He stepped over me. And I had a natural reaction to get from over me. Like, you don't step over a grown man. It's disrespectful. And if it happened again, I would do the same thing. Get off me.
A suspension that may have cost Golden State the championship.
If I played, we win, of course. So I do feel it's my fault that we lost.
You feel it's your fault?
Absolutely my fault. But I don't feel wrong for what I did at all.
He publicly dismantled Kevin Durant's standing within the Warriors organization so thoroughly and so persistently that Durant eventually left for Brooklyn. And he would do all of it again, because every bit of it was calculated. The verbal assault, the emotional provocation, the strategic chaos, these were not emotional failures. They were competitive tools deployed with specific intent. And that distinction is precisely where the debate resolves. The trash talker's tools, psychological pressure, verbal disruption, the manufactured doubt that compounds over 48 minutes, don't trigger ejections. They don't draw suspensions. They operate in the gray space between what's legal and what's devastating. The bad boys' tools, forearms, hard fouls, the physical assertion of dominance, are documented, penalized, and systematically removed from the modern game. The league didn't simply change the rules, it changed the operating environment. And in that new environment, one archetype thrived and the other contracted. Which brings us to what this debate ultimately produces when you strip away the nostalgia and the mythology. Kevin Garnett won a championship, Larry Bird won 3, Michael Jordan won 6, Draymond Green has won 4. The trash talkers built the most durable dynasties in the sport's history. The bad boys, with the specific exception of the Pistons, built reputations rather than rings. And the reason is something worth stating clearly. Fear has a ceiling. In the regular season, a reputation for physical violence keeps opponents cautious. It changes their decision-making before they even enter the arena. That is real and meaningful. But in a playoff series, when adrenaline is already at its maximum and players are already competing through pain and exhaustion, physical intimidation becomes expected. It becomes background. It becomes something you prepare for and absorb. The psychological game, by contrast, gets louder under pressure. A seed of doubt planted in the first quarter of Game 1 compounds over 7 games into something that changes how a player moves, shoots, and decides in the moments that determine careers. Trash talk scales under pressure. Physical intimidation increasingly does not. The bad boys are not without legacy. That matters here. Bill Laimbeer and the Pistons forced the league to create flagrant foul protocols. Artest forced a complete reckoning with crowd safety policy. Sprewell forced a re-examination of the player-coach relationship at the institutional level. They pushed the boundaries of what the sport permitted so hard and so consistently that the league rewrote its rulebook specifically to prevent their methods from producing another dynasty. That is a form of influence. It is not a small one. But the trash talker's legacy is instructional in a way that compounds across generations. Bird's weaponized confidence became the model for every elite scorer who learned to treat arrogance as competitive fuel. Jordan's psychological dominance became the template Kobe Bryant studied, refined, and applied throughout his career. Garnett's relentless presence influenced every competitor who understood that winning starts in the visitor's locker room before a single warm-up shot is taken. The bad boy changed what the game permitted. The trash talker changed how the game is played. One left behind rule changes written to stop him. The other left behind a philosophy that his opponents chose to learn from and emulate. So if you're constructing a team to win a championship, one built for the long postseason grind for 7-game series under maximum pressure, Who do you actually want? The honest answer is that every championship team has needed some version of both: a protector and a provoker, an enforcer and a strategist, someone who controls space physically, and someone who controls the opponent's mind. But if you can only choose one type, the trash talker, every time. Because a hard foul removes one player from the floor for 6 minutes. A psychologically broken opponent removes an entire team from a series before Game 4 even tips off. When Garnett was operating at his peak, opposing teams didn't simply arrive at TD Garden to play basketball. They arrived already managing doubt, already conducting internal conversations about whether they could handle what was coming. That invisible weight, unmeasurable and absolutely real, is worth more than any forearm thrown in the paint. The bad boys made you afraid to drive the lane, the trash talkers made you afraid to play. And only one of those fears followed you back to your own locker room after the loss. The NBA has changed comprehensively. The sport is faster, more skilled, and more globally prominent than at any point in its history. The bad boy as a pure archetype is nearly extinct. The league's structure has made sustained survival in that mode almost impossible. But the psychological game never left. It simply evolved into something more precise, more sophisticated, more targeted. Draymond Green on his podcast. Durant and LeBron's social media battles becoming extensions of their competitive dynamics. Players building entire public narratives designed to create pressure on opponents during the regular season. The battlefield moved from the paint to the mind. The bad boys built the foundation. The trash talkers raised the structure on top of it. One made you bleed, the other made you doubt. And when you look back at what the sport actually remembers, it recalls the malice at the palace as a cautionary story. It repeats Larry Bird's three-point contest announcement as something close to gospel. In the memory of competition, the tongue cuts deeper and lasts longer. That is the most dangerous weapon this sport has ever seen. If you want more breakdowns like this, the psychology, the history, and the stories that define how greatness actually operates, subscribe to Primetime Sports and stick with us. There's no shortage of material.